passe. Super l'artiste. Super. Encore un but sensationnel. That's a brilliant bit of follow-up play by Mahe. Oh my goodness me, what a shot.
Sagosen setter det hen! Han setter den! Vi er i semifinale igjen!
The men's quarterfinals are set, and we have some absolutely tasty matchups coming up in the Stade Pierre Mauroy in Lille, where the handball has relocated, and it's going to be an occasion, and it's going to be good. How you doing, Chris? You're still in Paris, but you're gonna make your way over to Lille quite soon.
Yeah, one day of seeing a bunch of other stuff. Currently at the hockey, see a few other things, and then make my way to Lille tomorrow for the quarterfinals of the women, where we're going to go men's quarterfinals in this podcast. If you didn't catch the last one, where we covered the women, you can enjoy that after this. But Alex, I'm going to read you these quarterfinalists, and then last time I gave you a little power ranking, I want you to start with the men's power ranking. So we have Spain versus Egypt, Germany versus France, Denmark versus Sweden, and Norway versus Slovenia. What are you thinking here?
That is really tough. There's an easy top, Denmark.
Yeah.
In second, I would put Egypt,
Okay.
who have been extremely impressive. Then in third place, Germany, topping their group. Can't be underestimated. They've looked really good. Then it all gets a little bit complicated, Chris, because someone like Sweden finished fourth in their group, but actually started to look very impressive towards the end of the group stage. Spain have been up and down. Norway looked really good, and then lost their last two matches to lose momentum. And I think France are still at the bottom, despite beating Hungary. They did not impress. So I would, and Slovenia, second in the group. It's just I can't choose between Slovenia, Spain, Sweden, and Norway. They can go in any order, and I'm gonna say Spain, Norway, Slovenia, Sweden, France.
Okay. Interesting. Yeah.
I could have named any team there. I could have been a completely different order.
Yeah.
Easily.
The just like I will write it, of course, for Go Handball, but I'm thinking at the moment Denmark, Germany, Egypt, Norway, Slovenia, Sweden, Spain, France. But yeah, again, right, Germany and Egypt are kind of a toss-up for me. Can't underestimate a team winning a group, even though it may mean that they get knocked out already in the quarterfinal. Should we start with that quarterfinal here, Alex? The Germany-France one? It's a double Germany-France in the men and women.
So France qualified by beating Hungary 24-20 in the last group game. And at one moment, 10 minutes before the end of the game, I was watching that game, just going, what are you doing? That is the thought that was going through my mind. I was just like, France, what the hell are you doing? How are you allowing Hungary to be one up against you in the home Olympics as you are a European Championship? I was like, what are you doing? Thankfully, and I do say thankfully because I think it would have been a real pity if France didn't make it to at least the quarterfinal stage. And thankfully, they did turn it around and kind of went on a pretty nice run in the last 10 minutes. But again, just how much of it was that Hungary were very poor versus France really deserving that win is very difficult to tell. Like, France just very stagnant in attack. They have been in this whole competition. Defensively, they've been okay.
Yeah.
Gerrard's been quite good, actually. Our Discord was having a big debate during that France-Hungary game just about, whether Gerrard is good enough, and I don't think it's his fault, to be honest. It's that backcourt that's just not firing. Saying all of that, I think they still beat Germany.
Why do we not believe in Germany here? Like the team that have actually been one of the most offensively interesting teams and exciting teams in this tournament. They played that real barnstormer against Spain, which was a real surprise considering how those games usually go. They've blooded a new generation. Maybe I'm answering my own question in there. They're going to be in a quarterfinal against France, who know how to win tournaments with a fairly new generation of players in that backcourt.
Yeah, you're right. Germany have been really good at attack, which is super surprising, right?
After think about January, them. It was painful. Yeah. It was worse than watching paint dry.
Some of the worst handball I've ever seen, but they're averaging 32.4 goals. That's the second most in the competition so far, behind Denmark on 33 goals. And they've won their big games. The only outstanding one is against Croatia. I don't know. Croatia just have their number for some reason against Germany.
It wasn't enough for them to qualify, which is mad.
Yeah, that does actually speak volumes about the kind of quality in these Olympics, where Croatia beat Germany by 5 goals and beat the group winner by 5 goals and ended up not going into the quarterfinal. That Group A really felt like the 100-meter sprint last night, Chris.
Ah, yes, blanket finish.
Blanket finish. The distance between gold medal and finishing last was 0.12 seconds, and in this case, it felt like Group A was the same. Even Japan, in that group, could have made it out. Answering question, I think the fans are going to make a big, big difference for France. And I think qualifying from this round and getting that win against Hungary could have been a really important emotional win for France. I think they had clearly a lot of pressure in this group stage. It was building. It felt like with every game that pressure was building, and I think the maximum pressure culminated at 50 minutes against Hungary, where it looked like everything was going to fall apart. And I think the players, looking at Guillaume Gilles, he looked like a deer headlights. He was not a man in control. Thankfully, they have the talent in Prandi and Mem, who stepped up in that moment. Karl Kodan, incredible in defence as well in those last minutes where they really shut down Hungary. And there was just this outpouring of relief when they won. And I think they're going to take that to a new stadium. In that game, there was also, the fans clearly helped France. And that's just, 6,000 fans. You get 27,000 of those. And I think this is something that France will relish and will kind of take forward. And it's harsh. It's harsh on Germany, who have been very good. But I'm talking about just general things, stylistically. Yeah. Germany have been better. As a team, tactically, they've been better. I'm just talking about the
vibes.
The vibes, the Olympic dream.
Yeah, on the tactical side of things, one thing that I had a quick chat with Sasha Stott, who's been on the podcast, friend of the show and a host of Kreisab. He, despite like us being horrified by France's attack, did kind of accept that it might be really difficult for Germany to create an attack against this defense. And that, putting in the fact that it is going to come down to quite a young group of players playing against this French team and defense that they could struggle there. I think the first half and the early stages are very important there in terms of whether Germany gets to actually begin expressing themselves. Just like Renard Ustjens told us in the last one, it's like, first couple of attacks go my way, I don't care who I'm playing against. He starts to enjoy it. A couple of attacks don't go your way at the beginning, and then things can start to tighten up a little bit, and that could have a bit of a pile-on effect when you consider all the things you've just been talking about. So in that sense, I think that's really important for Germany to be able to start breaking through and making things happen early on. But yeah, it's a whole, like, form almost goes out the window. You know, the power ranking we just mentioned almost goes out the window when it comes to a game like this between one of the top 3 teams in the championship so far and the bottom team of the 8 remaining, which is France. And but that's great. I mean, that's what you want. You don't want these straightforward quarterfinals. You want a real 50-50 contest, and maybe it's leaning even 55% to France, but it's really, really exciting, and we'll predict it at the end.
Like you say, these quarterfinals are 50-50, and they truly are. Like I don't remember a championship where quarterfinals were this evenly matched. Each one of them is a toss-up, with maybe some slight favourites. And like if you take out form out the window as well, it's a complete toss-up. So like the other, maybe the second biggest matchup in the quarterfinals is Denmark versus Sweden, where, you know, if you look at this competition on its own, Denmark are probably pretty big favourites. But if you look at Denmark and Sweden in their last kind of number of matches, it really, it could go either way. Sweden have got the win over Denmark a couple of times, including in the last Olympic Games, where they beat them in the group. And
we think back to January in the main round of the Euro as well. Denmark won that game, but it was highly controversial, and it was like a last second decider. It's funny because I think Sweden definitely didn't want to come up against Denmark in this quarterfinal, but I think Denmark also, of all the teams they could choose from, probably wouldn't have had Sweden high on that list either, particularly as a reward for winning the group, because these teams do know each other incredibly well. The big difference compared to January, as we've spoken about already, is Thomas Arnoldson coming in and being adding this whole new dimension to the attack. Are there any ways you think that Sweden can hurt Denmark, though?
Oh, I don't know. I picked this all up, but Denmark are like silly good. Yeah. I tuned into their game against Norway because I really thought that it would be a competitive game. That I really thought that Norway are playing really well, and they are going to, see what Denmark are made of. And Denmark are made of just superhuman stuff. I truly got the feeling watching Denmark versus Norway that Denmark played the whole game with a player up, but not in a 7-on-6 effect. It's just like a 6-on-5.
Okay.
Or like it was just as if Norway had a player sent off in defence for the whole game, because the gaps they found were just so wide. I'm just like, how is there such a big of a gap between the number 3 and number 2 defender in this game? It just kept happening. And again, like, you can, another way of saying it is that it looked like Denmark were on 2 times speed when playing the game. It really, those split second changes of direction by Pötlik, Giesel, and that team. And actually Lauge has been really, really good in this competition. He's, we talked about Thomas Arnoldson, but I think Arnoldson's taken a little, or Jakobsen has decided to protect him a little bit, and has thrust Lauge into that center or playmaker position, and it's really worked because anytime a team really steps up on Giesel and Putlik and tries to disrupt them, and you have to do that early, you're just left with Lauge and, well, it's been Jurgensen on the line, just playing 2-on-2 against the central defenders. And what Lauge does is just like hammer a shot in if he has space. And it's worked. It's just, and you know, like, it just feels like they've taken it to the next level, Denmark. It just feels like they've somehow advanced even more. And what can Sweden do? I don't know. I don't know. I'm not really sure about the Sweden team right now. But they have, you know, there was lots of rumblings of really bad kind of atmosphere in the Swedish locker room. I don't know, it was Johan Flink reporting on that, saying, you know, that the atmosphere is not great. Felix Klar is out of the championship, arguably their best players.
Is he 100% out though?
Is the latest that I've read.
I wouldn't be surprised if he's thrust in again for one more game. I mean, he's got heel problems, which apparently he's had since the end of the season, or towards the end of the season with Magdeburg. But I mean, Edvardson's done quite well since coming in. Carl, like they have the options there. But yeah, if you don't have Klar at 100%, then you're missing something massive for this team, because you really notice when he's able to deliver, and when it's not the case, as you said, you're just wondering, it's like, what's up with this team? It's not quite the same, and his contribution is so kind of so solid and maybe unspectacular at times, but like genuinely brilliant. And when it's not there, that's when they can struggle. But yeah, I don't know. They've been so inconsistent at this tournament. That's the big problem for me. You know, the 2 losses have looked like a completely different team to their 3 wins, and you don't know which one is going to show up, and you need them to be on their A+ game to have any chance.
But you say they're inconsistent, but like Glenn Solberg has been a maniac with changes. Like, you know, he played one game with the first game with one starting 7, and played the second game with a completely different.
When you win when you win, then you say, "Oh, he's using the squad very well." But when you're losing and winning with in those 2 big wins they had with what is arguably like the B team, so that's the problem here, and maybe still a little bit of, and particularly in the question of Jim Gottfriedson, a little bit of like the legacy. He's their legacy player in this case. Is he?
He shouldn't. Jim Gottfriedson should not be the legacy player yet in his career.
With this team, he is, though. You know, he doesn't. He's not the same.
He's not. But it's just weird looking at this squad. The top 3 scorers are all wingers. Sebastian Karlsson is their top scorer. Yeah. Then, kind of looking at the backcourt, they've got 2 players on 15 goals, both of them right backs. Sandell and Lagergren. Gottfriedson only has 9 goals in the whole competition. Klar had only 5. Like, it's weird. No one has.
Super weird.
It's like a complete. No one has stood out for Sweden, and they've tried to mix it around. And I wonder what the direction is going into this quarterfinal from Glenn Solberg. Like, you know, is he going to go with his A team that wasn't that good? Is he going to go with his B team with Edvardsson, who has come up really well for Sweden? Was it all just tactics to rest for the meaningful matches? And I do think there's something about resting players, because this might be just a little bit, kind of a bit of a stretch, but the top players in the competition so far, Matthias Giesel, Alex Fla, Yahya Omar, Dikemem Brenners Ustjens, these guys have been just like dominant in the competition. All of them had a bad game in the last group stage, including Matthias Giesel, which is, it's insanely hard to believe, but he only scored 3 goals on 50%, which is absolutely disgraceful for his standards. And that it has been a really, really tough competition so far, and maybe it's just Galaxy brain, Glenn Solberg really resting his squad to take advantage of a fatigued Denmark.
Yeah, with when they won the championship in 2022 in the Euro, they didn't play well until the semi-finals. They scraped past the group phase by a single goal against Czechia, scraped through the main round by a single goal against Norway. Then they went and won it in the knockout round. So, yeah, it's maybe a similar case to France, maybe not as extreme, because they, I was going to say they don't have the same quality, but I mean they have been up there consistently. They were pretty much at the same level as France a few months ago. So yeah, I think that they can trouble Denmark normally, but this isn't normal Denmark. It's maybe too early to say that. We'll find out now in the knockout rounds if they because with the groups crossing, it's always a revelation as well, right? Exactly. With one group being so tight from top to bottom, and Denmark against good teams, we believe, cruising it. It's going to be a different challenge, but I do put Denmark as the favourites here.
I think so, and my gut feeling is that Group B is the better group in this championship. Each team has been really impressive. The top 3 teams have been impressive. I would say France being France. So yeah, I do have a feeling that Group B is the stronger group, and Denmark sailed through it. Absolutely sailed through it. They have the best attack. I'll stop with Denmark. Just too good.
Who do you want to talk about next?
It has to be Egypt, Spain.
Yes,
that is a really tasty matchup, and it was so funny to see how wildly Spain celebrated their victory against Croatia in that last group game, where they won in the very last second with an Alex Gomez wing shot. Very, very, they almost threw it away. Croatia, Spain were in the lead for most of it. Croatia kind of pegged them back, and even despite that, Spain were 2 goals up with less than 2 minutes to go. Then they were a goal up with the ball in their hand. Turnover, penalty, Croatia equalise with 10 seconds to go, and you're like, well, it doesn't really matter. Spain have still qualified. That's what I was thinking. And then they make this really, really clever fast throw-off play, a classic one, Alex Dushabayev to Alex Gomez, to get the winner and celebrate as if they won, a medal. And that's because they avoided Denmark.
Yes, exactly. They knew what they were doing, or they knew what they needed to do. It's maybe even more confusing Spain than usual. I think we've gotten a bit of blowback again on Twitter for the writing off of Spain at the beginning of every championship, as we always
I refuse to write them off, Chris. Don't.
Exactly.
That's the number one rule.
We've gone in the opposite direction. Those people who think that we talk shit about Spain, now we don't dare to. It is, they're just a tournament team. Yeah. They have not been good at times. Most of the times I've seen them, which have been losses. I haven't like been on site for many of their victories, but they've there's something about them, and I think it starts with the Dushabayev boys, and just with quality peppered all around this team. They're not as good as Egypt, I think. They're not as powerful as them, but they might have their wicked ways, the dark arts might be the key for them in this. And remember, it was Spain at the last Olympics who broke Egyptian hearts in the bronze medal game, wasn't it?
It was.
So that is that one really hurt Egypt, you feel, and there's going to be a real measure of revenge on their minds for this game.
It is, but you say it starts with the Dushabayev brothers. I think that's where the reason they're not going to win starts. And I think Alex Dushabayev he needs a break. He's been completely under his normal level in this championship. He has only 14 goals and is only shooting 45%. It's really poor. There's no sugarcoating it. He's a clever player.
The assists have been strong, though.
Assists have been strong, and he does still run the game for Spain in that backcourt. He is important, but you can't forgive 45%. And they're playing like a team now. They're a little bit less reliant on Alex Dushabayev than they were for a period. But you know what they did when they were reliant on Alex Dushabayev? They won a couple of European championships. That's what they did, because he was that good. And it feels like maybe a little bit like Guillaume Gottfriedson. The two of them have been just beaten down by Handball. They've just played every tournament, every game, reached, like with Alex Dushabayev, reaching the latter stages of the Champions League season after season, reaching the semi-finals of every major championship season after season. And it all adds up. Injuries kind of add up. And I just don't think he has the same explosive power that he used to. And I think that's really the issue. I don't know if he can get it back, if it's like just, as I said, the build-up of injuries and intensity of the schedule, or is this kind of it for Alex Dushabayev at the very, very highest level?
We've made this mistake before about kind of writing players off, and then they do get that break, or a few months later come back and you're like, oh yeah, they can just get better. They can heal themselves. So I'm not going to write them off just yet. But yeah, I do get your point in terms of him being maybe a little bit of a bottleneck for the team at a level like this against Egypt. If we talk about Egypt, Cook, I've been really impressed with, number one, I did say he was going to be an outsider for the MVP for the most part. Yahi Omar, I think, has done
a great call,
really, really well. And Muhammad Ali in goal as well.
Yeah.
He's really stepped up for the team.
Yeah, the greatest Muhammad Ali I've ever heard of. He's really... he's been pretty impressive.
He doesn't float like a butterfly, but...
He does not. Egypt have been better than I expected. When you look at their performances, they've been the better team against everyone in the group. They should have beaten France. And against Denmark, at least they took a half off them. They're the only team to beat Denmark in a half, and they did it comprehensively after, of course, losing the first half by 10 goals and being sucker punched by a Danish team. to me, Egypt play like France used to play, or like do play. I'm not going to say used to play because France still won a European Championship. They have a really talented backcourt. They don't have a small diminutive playmaker. They do have Yahya Eldera playing there, or Saif Eldera. They've been switching in between those two players who are a little bit more direct, but they can add speed to the game. That's evident for sure. But they're a team that's not afraid to take a shot from 9 meters. Yeah. But they choose to do this at the right time. That's the big difference. It's not I don't know, it's not a la Kiel where they're reliant on that 9 meter. They're still playing modern handball, trying to break through, recycling the ball incredibly well. It's when they get stopped, they keep it moving, and it's the really big difference. If you watch, anyone's listening here, just like if you watch back France, or maybe watch the next game France play, it feels like they're getting the ball very static, taking one step and still being a meter away from the defense, passing it on and just relying on the absolute brilliance of Prandi or Dikamem. That's it. When you watch Egypt, they play in a very similar style, but they receive the ball at a faster rate. They step right into the defense, receive that contact, move the defense around, pass the ball on. And when someone like Ahmed Hesham gets the ball, he's at speed on the 8 meter line. That's exactly where you want him, and they've done that so well. And additionally, their defense is just top notch. Yep. You do have to think that Juan Carlos Pastor has done all he can to get that defense in shape. It's always been good, but I think it feels like it's taken another step up as well. Ibrahim Al-Masri, very, very impressive in that defense. They're just really, really good. Yeah, they're really, really good.
You said earlier that France getting to the quarterfinal was good for the tournament and necessary for the tournament. And honestly, no hard feelings, Spain, but Egypt getting to the semi-finals and maybe even the final will be very, very good for this tournament and very good for the sport.
I think so. I think Egypt have a route to the final. I mean, you see it written in the stars here.
Oh God!
Again, okay, no, they have a route. They have a route.
Yeah.
But you have the Scandi Derby on one side of the draw with Slovenia thrown in, and then you have I don't know why it's like the other group that has challenged the Scandinavian teams over the last couple of years, who play slightly different types of handball in Germany, France, Spain, and Egypt, but. Yeah, it's almost like two different types of handball on the two sides of the draw, fighting it out against each other and trying to figure out
their handball in the final.
Yeah, their style, exactly.
That's a good way to put it. Norway and Slovenia. This really, really hard to tell because of the changing in form, I think, between these two teams. There, at the beginning, you gave the power ranking, and there were two teams that you could put anywhere between 4th and 7th.
Slovenia are very interesting because I think they have improved dramatically with Alex Fly in the squad. It feels like they have the leader that they've been missing a little bit, as much as Blas Jans is a leader for that team. He's still a right winger most of the time. Okay, maybe I'm exaggerating, but because they've had Bombach and Zarabets and all these playmakers leading them, but it just feels different with Alex Fla. It feels like they have this decisive player, and I've been really impressed with Zarabets as well. Really impressed with him. Someone who may have gone off the radar at the highest level. I'm not sure. I think he was hidden a little bit in that Wisla Plock team last season, despite being their big kind of marquee signing. They've looked really, really good, but I don't know I don't know how to judge Norway's tournament so far, because they were incredibly impressive, and then they lost 2 very difficult games, like against potentially the top 2 teams and against potentially the finalists. But here we're talking about, as we did for France, there's a bit of kind of momentum or emotional progress that I think Norway gets the opposite of, where France got like a little boost as they went up. Norway might start to kind of question themselves, but despite that, I think they should be good enough to beat Slovenia.
It is a quarterfinal, though. Norway don't like quarterfinals.
Norway are terrible in quarterfinals, but it's the perfect quarterfinal for Norway. Like, I think, you said Slovenia would be happy with who they got on the other side. I think Norway are absolutely delighted with who they got on the other side, because they almost don't have any history with Slovenia. Any other team they play on that side, Norway,
there's trauma.
Start to get into their head. Trauma. Like if they played Spain, I would have written them off immediately. Like I just don't. There's just too much trauma there. With Slovenia, it's a little bit new.
This could, but the thing about Slovenia is they too have been brilliant at times, and then at other times just like fallen away. I would do give Norway a little bit of the advantage here, but this one will be fun for a very, very different reason. I think this could be low key the best quarterfinal, because it's maybe 2 teams that nobody's really like counting on for a medal, but one of them is going to be in the semi-final, which is great. It's been a long time coming for Slovenia. Dolanet's saying there, he's been part of the national team for 15 years. They've only won 1 medal in that time. They've come close many times, but a lot of disappointment over the years. And that it is, the last chance for an awful lot of the players. Yeah, a little bit like with the Dutch. Maybe this is the kind of the Goldilocks moment for the squad, as a lot of players will be done after this. But you've got the likes of Flach and Jans, who are coming into their prime. So, yeah, I think with that, quick predictions, and then we wrap up. What do you reckon, Alex?
I reckon I have no idea. I reckon it's going to be a wonderful game, a wonderful round of handball on the men's side, where we see a couple of extra times, and I mean a couple, like. 2 games go to extra time.
It's a good thing they've spread out the games for 1 every 4 hours. Plenty of time for extra time.
That is true. Yeah, will I have to wake up at 3 a.m. to watch a game, Chris? That's the question.
Yes, the 9:30 a.m. first one. Yeah,
3:30 a.m. to watch it's Spain-Egypt.
Well, you just you do a good job, and like you just don't like leave your phone on airplane mode and then watch the game in the morning.
Oh, like when? During the Germany-France game?
Exactly. Or both of them in the morning. I don't know, Alex. You got to figure it out. I believe in you. If anyone can do it, it's you and John Ryan. So maybe you can discuss with him how he's going to do it.
To answer your question and stop delaying, because I have no idea who's going to win, I'm going to go through the ties as they will happen on the day. So Spain-Egypt are the 9:30 game. Egypt winning that. Potentially in extra time. Germany-France, and France win that. Denmark beats Sweden, and Norway beats Slovenia. Which may be just a little bit boring as a prediction round, but there you go.
I'm going to go Egypt, Germany,
Oh,
Denmark,
mix it up.
Slovenia. mix it up a little. Who knows? And that's the most exciting thing. It's really going to be a great set of quarterfinals. We will be back after those quarterfinals with another podcast for you all. Thank you, everyone, for listening as the roars can be heard maybe on the microphone as I think Argentina have equalised in the hockey. Who knows? Anyway, I digress. Thank you all for listening, everyone. And we'll catch you soon again. Bye-bye.